Hi there, I'm Mark Borelli, and I'm a business coach that helps CEOs, business owners grow their companies while maintaining profitability and greater value. Today, I want to talk to you about profit per X. This is a major concept that was developed by Jim Collins in his wonderful book, Good to Great. And if you haven't read Good to Great, I truly recommend you do. However, in dealing with profit per X with many clients and others, when I talk about it, there's confusion about profit per X and how it's developed. And so I'd like to take you through the way I try and explain it to clients when we develop it. So if you're interested, come along and I'll share my screen with you and we can look at it together. So profit per X. What is profit per X? As I said, it is the key concept developed by Jim Collins. And this is the driver that allows companies to scale while maintaining their profitability. This is the economic engine for the business. And so it is really essential that one gets it right. So let's take a look at it. Well, if we look at profit per X, excuse me a minute, and we take a simple chart, X and Y graph, on the X-axis, we can put in profit. This can be in dollars or percentages. The real question is, what do we mean by profit? And this is where the complexity begins, but it's really not that complicated. So what is profit? Well, it could be gross profit. It could be net operating profit. Even it could be EBIT or EBITDA or any number of metrics. It could also be a dollar number or a percentage number. So as you've seen, we've already got a whole bunch of factors on the profit side. Next, we come to the X. What is X? Well, X is also complicated. It could be products, it could be markets, it could be your customers. There are many ways of looking at X, and many companies have found different ways of doing it with the key purpose that it is still going to be the driver of economic growth. So if we take Southwest Airlines, for instance, they chose planes. That is their measurement, not customers, not passengers, not seats, planes. Other companies I know look at pounds if they're selling certain products that comes in pounds. Some others I know look at profit per invoice. That's the metric they're following, and that's the way they can track it. Others I know look at pallets if they're selling large bulks of anything. And finally, a company that I know of that I worked with that was in the laundry business, they looked at it per truckload of clean laundry that they delivered. They figured that was their best profit metric. So as you can see, we have a huge multitude of options to choose from. On the profit side, we have a whole list of items. And on the X side, we have a whole list of items. But before we get into it, let's go back to X for a minute, because X is really interesting. X must be something that employees and the whole company can get passionate about. It's something that they really understand. Everybody understands it. It's simple enough that it's not too complex to understand, and everybody in the organization can get their head around it. And it's going to drive their passion. Next, it's got to empower them. They've got to be able to make decisions to ensure that you hit profit per X and give them the confidence to do that because they understand the metric when pricing and managing expenses. The next thing is going to drive them. It wants to challenge them to drive them to achieve this result. This is a metric everybody understands, and we're always seeking to hit it or better it. Not only that, it puts discipline into the process. We have discipline. We will not make less than whatever profit per X is on any whatever X is. So that's how we have discipline. And if we do, we need to find out why. And that ensures our profitability no matter how many of X we're selling. And because of all that, it is our economic engine. So it's a very powerful tool, and X has all these components. So now, when you think about it, we still have all those profit options, but X has all these other options. But really, we wanted to drive passion, empowerment, drive, discipline, so it gives us that economic engine. So going back to my chart that I brought up, let's start at that. Why did I bring this up? Well, let's just say we've picked a profit, whatever it is, and we've chosen an X. And now we're going to plot whatever X is across it. So for the moment, I'm just going to assume it's products. And we have, in this hypothetical organization, 9 different products. You can see them there, 1 through 9. And I've ordered them not in any particular way, just on what delivers what percentage of profit. But let's assume percentage for this chart. So They're not necessarily going to be like this for most companies. They'll be all over the place, but we organize them so it looks like a downward waterfall. Now, when we look at all these different profitabilities for the different products, and we look at the average across the organization, we get 12%. And this is what I hear from so many customers. I make 12% margin. But no, you're not. Because if we look at this chart, what it tells me is that products 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are making more, but 6, 7, 8, and 9 are losing money. So this is a key, because if we can get 6, 7, 8, and 9 up, then we'll make more. So 6, 7, 8, 9 are the issue. 6 a little bit, and really 7 and 8. And what are we going to do with them? We're not going to cut them. Or if they're profit per employee, we're not going to get rid of those employees. Or if it's profit per customer, we're not going to necessarily get rid of those customers. What we need to do is understand them. And how can we change the metrics so that profit does go up to our X, whatever X is? In this hypothetical case, our average is 12%, but let's say we want a profit per X of 25%. So that's going to probably keep us only with products 1, 2, and 3 in the mix, and everybody else is below the threshold. So again, we need to understand what is going on in whether these are products, customers, markets, planes, pounds, invoices, why are they not meeting our threshold? So to look at that, what I then challenge clients to do is to generate a lot of data so that we can look at all these different metrics for all these different products. Once we've done that, the interesting part starts, because this is an iterative process, and we're going to go through multiple iterations to figure out what is the right profit measurement and what is the right X. But once we have, we can then take our non-performing groups, whatever they are, and we can figure out how do we drive them? How do we get them up to that threshold? Well, for that, let's just look at a new piece of paper. On profit per X, we all know that profit is equal to revenue minus expense. And that's a simple equation. So really, we just have two variables. But of course, nothing's ever that simple, because revenue has two variables that drive revenue. So if we want profit to go up, we need revenue to go up, and we need expenses to go down. So going back, how do we drive up revenue? Well, as I said, revenue has two variables. They are, we have price, and obviously we have volume. So for revenue to go up, either price can go up, or volume can go up, or one of them can go up and one can go down, as long as the one that goes up enough to overcome the one that goes down. So we could drop our price but increase our volume. We could rise our price but watch our volume shrink. It all depends on the marginal effects of that. But those are the drivers of revenue. With expense, we have fixed expenses, overhead, and things like that. And then we have variable expenses which relate to the production of the product. So with those, if we're increasing revenue because we're selling more, our variable expenses will go up. But if we want expenses to come down, we then have to look at our variable expenses and our fixed separately. So now, with this set of variables, how can we drive profit per X? Going back to our previous chart, where a couple of products or customers were not making it, we can look at each one and say, was it the price? Was it the volume? Or what part of the expenses were wrong? We know what the expenses were to deliver this, so we can look at each one. So for instance, one customer I know, they provide a service for free to get the work afterwards if the customer chooses them as the supplier. So they do all the costing of the project for free. And then if the customer chooses them, they get to supply the materials, and that's where they make their profit and their revenue. However, some people just use them to drive pricing, that they can use that price to beat up their other suppliers. So here, what we have is we have a fixed price, or a fixed expense, maybe even a variable expense, but there's no revenue associated. So in these cases, we now have to say, okay, if there's no volume, we have to do something. And that means we either have to say that you're going to pay us a fixed price regardless, or we're going to offset, we're going to charge you for the work, but then we'll give you a credit on delivery of materials later. But by getting into these numbers, once we've decided our profit per X, we can easily drive it. Again, this is not something you're going to solve the first day we work on it. This will probably take a couple of months, because we're going to have to come up with all the different profits and all the different X's. We're going to have to look at the numbers across them, play with them, see what they look like, look at one, some which are bad and some which are good, and see why we are understanding that. But once we've got them and we start to narrow down them, Then we can understand the drivers and we can get you to profit per X. And once you're there, your business can scale profitably. I hope you found this informative and good luck. If you need more help, reach out. Have a great day. Thank you.